David Cameron has joined calls for targeted screening for prostate cancer. This is after revealing that he has been successfully treated for the disease. The former Prime Minister says he was persuaded to get checked by his wife after listening to a radio interview. And it seems Lord Cameron's decision to speak out has had a similar impact on others, with the charity Prostate Cancer UK reporting a more than 600% surge in people checking their risk online. Well, we can talk about this more now with Kibble, who was diagnosed with prostate cancer himself a couple of years ago. Kevin, really good of you to come in tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Just that statistic there from the prostate cancer charity saying a 600% increase in people simply going online to look at whether they're high risk or not, and whether they should get themselves testing. This is why it's good to talk about it, right?
Absolutely. It's online there. It's a very simple test to find out your risk levels as well. So, it takes 30 seconds, you know, and that's a good place to start to find out.
Because you were essentially in the dark, weren't you, when you got your diagnosis, in terms of you didn't realise that you were high risk. Talk me through what being a high risk, in the high risk category for prostate cancer means.
Well, it can be a number of things. One is age, but in my particular case, it was familial cancer. So both my sister and my mother had died from breast cancer, and my mother's brother had died from prostate cancer. I didn't know the links between those cancers, that they can infiltrate throughout the rest of the family, and I should have been aware, but I wasn't. And that's something that if people were more aware of, then maybe, if we could get that message out, then maybe a few more people would get tested. But we need to know what those high-risk strategies are, or what can be done to reach out to those people and say, do you know? Because I didn't know. I had no symptoms. I didn't know.
And, our interview this evening, again, is another sort of reminder, indicator to people. If, 5, 10, 50 people see this interview and think, do you know what, I'm just going to pop online and have a look as to whether I could be high risk. If you are high risk, what happens next? Because we talk about this screening. David Cameron has added his voice to growing calls for a targeted screening programme. Talk me through the steps of diagnosis and what that would mean for people.
Well, first of all, it would mean a simple blood test. There's a lot of mystique around prostate diagnosis, some of which has got really ridiculous, but it's a simple blood test. It measures your PSA levels. And it's not a 100% accurate test all the time, but if your PSA levels are elevated, then something's not right. If you're in a high-risk category, you should be tested for this at least once a year. And men over 50 should be tested once a year anyway, because that's when things, I'm afraid, just start to go wrong as you get a bit older. But it's those are the kind of things that make it a high-risk category. But also, if you're a black man, then you are twice as likely to get it. 1 in 8 of us will get prostate cancer. Don't know how many men work in this organisation here, but 1 in 8 of them will get prostate cancer. And if they're black guys, it'll be 1 in 4. That's the kind of numbers that we're talking about.
And as we've seen with the Camerons, it's not just reaching the men with this message, it's reaching the women in their lives, the message as well, because, we say all the time when we talk about men and diseases, men just don't like to talk about their health. They're more reluctant than women to discuss it amongst their peer group, let alone go to a GP. Were you sort of guilty of suffering that yourself, in terms of, again, there should be no shame in admitting that you find it hard to talk about your health? Prostate, cervix, bowel cancer is all very intimate and people can be embarrassed.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to talk about, but it shouldn't be. And we should, we talk better about mental health now. We need to talk more about our physiological health as well. For men, talking about your toiletry habits is not a natural thing to do. It's not what you chat about in the loo, in the pub, but it is something that we should do. And I'd like to see, a better conversation amongst men about this. A better conversation about cancer in general. Because of, the statistic, cancer overall, 1 in 2 of us will get cancer. You've got a 50% chance of being diagnosed at some point in your life. The truth of the matter as well is that millions of men have prostate cancer. We look at around 12,000 deaths from the disease, but millions of men have prostate cancer. Millions will die with it rather than of it. It will be slow growing, so they will never have to treat it. And that's been one of the key issues that people have raised when talking about a screening programme, in terms of, are you better off knowing, and could this, overload the NHS service? I mean,
I'd like your take on that, because that is a valid argument that comes from medical professionals.
Sure, but they're not the ones who are dying from it. You know, when I was diagnosed, it was too late. Mine had already spread. I had no symptoms. So had I been picked up by a screening programme, the NHS wouldn't now be picking up the bill for all my treatment.
Yeah.
And, you know, I will live with it as long as I possibly can. But I will die from it. And that's why it's a terminal diagnosis that I have. But it is treatable. So although I'm pretty healthy at the moment, I think, it's the side effects of the drugs that are worse than the disease itself.
There are so many new developments in this area of prostate cancer in terms of treatment, new technology. I mean, I was reading a couple of months ago about a test that men can take to see whether their prostate cancer would react to chemotherapy, which, you know, then helps them make a decision about their treatment. You know, what's going on in this area? What is your treatment?
Oh, there's masses of changes going on. My treatment is all hormone treatment.
Yeah. So
I have an injection once every 12 weeks, which in our community is affectionately known as the harpoon.
OK. Sounds delightful.
Yeah, it's a bit of a brute. And then daily hormone tablets. But I also, because of the side effects of that, I have to have stuff for my bones, because it affects my bones, and all that's it, and on it goes. So, but there are another whole round of things about diagnosis. We're seeing new diagnosis centres cropping up, whereby we're getting diagnosis quicker. You know, and this is really, really helpful. So, the more we can speed it up, the quicker we get from is there a problem to diagnosis, the higher rates of success we will get in people surviving prostate cancer. Already, it's a very high survival rate for more than 10 years. That's brilliant, but there's still 12,200 of us who will die this year. Yeah. And that's 1,000 every month. Yeah. You know, so that's still too many.
Yeah, it is indeed. And Kevin, I guess your message tonight would be: look, if you're a man over 50, you should be getting yourself checked.
Absolutely.
If the GP's not coming to you, you should be going to the GP. You should be proactive about it.
Yeah, you're entitled to a test. Go and get one. It's a £5 blood test, and it can save your life.
Oh, listen, Kevin, I really appreciate you coming in. You're doing great work for others by coming on the TV and talking about your diagnosis and what you should do. Like you said, you know, if you'd have known, things would have been so different. But you are sitting here and you're really sort of sprightly, and as you said, you're having a good day today, right? And long may that continue.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us.
It's been really good to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.